Hi again, it's me Audrina Lane here, and I'm rocking some sexy specs today for chapter 27 of Where Did Your Heart Go? School seemed to pass so slowly for Charlie as she finished lessons and then more rehearsals with the group. Every time they danced their way through the routine, she missed Mitch for the fall at the end. Mitchell could not get away that weekend, but invited her to stay the following one. Although it seemed an age away, they continued to text and chat to each other almost as constantly as they could, depending on college. Charlie spent the weekend practising, and in between texts from Mitch, reading the diaries, so that she could let him know what had happened 24 years ago that was as much a part of his life as hers. Dear Diary, Friday the 2nd of September 1988. James was coming over and I couldn't wait to see him again. While cleaning my room, I danced along to Rick Astley, and was so lost in the music I failed to hear his car pull onto the driveway. The first thing I knew was someone clapping from the doorway, and as I spun round I saw a smile that lit up my day. "Nice moves," he said. "Now get over here and give me a kiss. It's been a long haul." I needed no further prompting as I ran the short distance into his arms and felt my body curve into his. Like a final piece of a jigsaw, we were complete again. The first kiss we shared was always the best, but as our lips came together I sensed a small moment of hesitation from James. It was so slight that I soon forgot as he responded to my touch in the usual way. We staggered over to the bed and fell together onto the softness of the duvet. When we parted, we were both hot and breathless. "Shall we go and grab some cold drinks?" I said. Sitting in the kitchen, he told me about his last few days at work and his leaving party. Looking into his eyes, I noticed a strange sadness lurking there beneath the calm blue. "Do you miss working at the pool?" "Nah. We'll miss the guys, you know, Ian and Graham, but definitely not Felicity." "So big day on Monday when you start at the fire station," I responded, a smile creeping over my features as I imagined what James looked like in his uniform. "What's the smile for?" "Just thinking about how good you'll look in your uniform." "Oh, you can see it next time you come and visit." That sounds like an offer I can't refuse," I replied, fluttering my eyelashes and going into a fake swoon. "You can do more than see it, you can remove it if you want," he suggested. James was enjoying the undercurrent of sexual tension running through our conversation. He leaned across the table and kissed me before my mum interrupted us. "So what are you two planning for the weekend?" she asked. "We're meeting Sarah and Chris at the pool in an hour and going for a swim. Then bowling later at the new alley that has opened in Gloucester," I told her. "Would you like some sandwiches before you head off?" "That would be great, Mrs. M," James replied as I nodded and jumped up to grab us some crisps and another drink. We drove down to the pool and spied Sarah and Chris immediately. They were locked in a passionate embrace just to the side of the entrance. James tooted the horn of the car and we laughed as they jumped and then realised it was us. Once in the pool it felt like old times as we swam, laughed and mucked around. Then in a quiet moment James motioned for me to go under the water and close my eyes. He gently pulled me close and kissed me, recreating our first ever kiss in exactly the same spot. It was beautiful. As we broke the surface together I mouthed "I love you" to him. James responded with "till the end of time" back at me. After we dried off, the four of us piled into James's car. I let Chris sit in the passenger seat as there was more legroom, and I didn't mind having the chance of a gossip with Sarah in the back. Bowling was good fun, even though the guys decided to make it into a competition. It was funnier when they decided to do boys against girls, because Sarah and I somehow beat them by 2 points. Saturday the 3rd of September 1988. I forgot to set my alarm and woke in a panic when I heard footsteps below us. I extricated myself from James's arms and, grabbing my dressing gown, headed silently down the stairs to where they met the open landing. Waiting in silence, I decided it was safe, but just as I stepped round the corner onto the landing, my mum appeared from her bedroom doorway. "Hi, Mum," I stammered, knowing there was no way I was going to be able to lie and say I was on my way to the bathroom. "I'll talk to you later, once James has left," she warned. In the safety of the spare bedroom, I took some deep breaths. I was in trouble, and I just hoped she wouldn't tell Dad, as I'd be grounded for years. I had just finished getting dressed when I heard James's footsteps on the stairs. I was able to catch him on the landing and pull him into the spare room. "Mum caught me coming down the stairs this morning as I forgot to set the alarm. She's going to talk to me once you leave on Sunday," I said. "Do you want me to talk to her?" James asked. No, it's okay, but just wanted to let you know, as I might get grounded and not be able to come to yours when you next have a weekend off. He put his arm around me and hugged me close. We went downstairs for breakfast, and I knew that Mum had not said anything to Dad as he greeted us both. "What would you like to do today?" I asked James. "Oh, not sure." My dad said, "You can always help me in the garage, as I'm going to sort through all the records and disco equipment, trying to weed some of them out that we don't need anymore." "Sounds like a plan," I replied. "Are the decks still set up in there?" "Yes, why don't you go ahead and do the music, and I'll go to the shed and do the lights," Dad suggested. Once in the garage, I switched the decks on and started to open all the cases. James soon had his head buried in the different section, pulling out singles as I gave them a spin on the decks. "I love this song," he said, pulling out "You've Lost That Loving Feeling," which I recognised from Top Gun. Pulling me away from behind the deck, the garage acted like our private dance floor as he pulled me into his arms. "Since we never got to slow dance in the club when you were up at mine," he murmured, as I laid my head on his chest. We moved together before he spun me round, and we started to waltz like we'd been taught in Blackpool. As the music faded, I heard clapping in the background and turned to see my dad standing in the doorway. "I liked your waltz," he said. "Who taught you?" "My dad taught me," James replied quickly, knowing that my parents had no idea about our long weekend in Lytham St Anne's. "Well, he did a good job. I'll leave you to finish off." When he'd gone, I started to giggle. "That was a close one. Nearly got in trouble for 2 things instead of just the bedroom," I breathed deep, relief washing over me. How about we put on something a bit faster? I have some sexual energy I need to release, and it won't wait until later," James said, laughing as he found an album of dance music. Although we started out with good intentions, the dancing slipped into an extended foreplay session that soon had my blood boiling, as James slipped his hands beneath my loose top and realised with a start that I had no bra on. His fingers stroked my nipples, and I felt my body start to soar. Pushing up my top, I stood there as James's lips and tongue took over. I hardly dared to breathe at the sheer wickedness of doing this in the garage, when only moments before my dad had appeared at the door. It only served to heighten my senses. Running his hands over the outside of my skirt, he reached the hem and then explored beneath. I heard him gasp even louder when he found I wore no knickers. His warm hands touched my burning skin and ran down to my feet and then back up to my legs, to the centre of all my nerve endings. His fingers delved into my wetness, and then kneeling down, his tongue tasted me, pulling me in like I was a fine wine, to be enjoyed with care. I grabbed his shoulders and hung on as he pulled up and released himself from his jeans. He lifted me up and pushed me against the rough garage wall so that he could plunge into me without a moment's hesitation. My body exploded in his strong arms as I came with such abandon. I cried out and had to smother the sound into his chest as he joined me. Our bodies felt like one shimmering, shining sun at the centre of our own private universe. I think if the wall hadn't been behind us, we would have both fallen to the floor in happy exhaustion. Instead, with shaking hands, James lowered me to my feet, and we both just stood there, overwhelmed by the experience. We heard a shout from outside. "Lunch is ready," followed by my mum's footsteps. I straightened my clothes just in time for Mum to appear through the garage door as she pulled it open. "I wasn't sure you could hear me over the music," she said, looking slightly bemused at the sight of the 2 of us stood in the garage, and no doubt looking slightly dishevelled. "Thanks, Mum. We'll be in shortly," I replied, feeling the heat of my blush and the remnants of our activity still on my skin. "Thanks, Mrs. M. All this work's made me so hungry," James said, looking over at the pile of records we'd sorted. After lunch, we went to the video shop and rented a couple of films for the evening, what with my mum and dad going out. We ended up with Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Mannequin to watch. Both were good, but in the end we finished up with another viewing of Top Gun, making out on the sofa to the soundtrack that had pretty much made up our whole relationship to date. "Do you know, if I ever have a daughter, I would call her Charlotte," I sighed. "Yes, Charlotte Cook has a great ring to it." "Hey, that's a bit far ahead of you," James responded. "I'm too young to think about responsibilities like that just yet. I have a life to lead." "Yes, and fires to put out, people to save, and cats to rescue from trees," I replied, as I thought of him rescuing me in the pool. "I can't wait to get started on Monday. They're even training me to drive the fire engine, Now that will be a buzz. He grinned. I hoped our careers would not create a barrier between us. I just needed him to give me another year so I could do my course and learn to drive, and then our relationship would move forward in the direction I wanted, the direction I had dreamt about for the last 8 months, that I would be his forever. Sunday the 4th of September 1988. After getting caught yesterday, I set my alarm an extra hour early so that he could creep from James's warm arms and into the cold spare room. As I lay there, I considered our conversation from last night. Did James not think the same way as me? Did he not want to make the ultimate commitment a couple could make? I tried not to let it worry me, but it lurked there at the back of my mind, along with Felicity's threat and the strange far-off look I had noticed fleetingly in James's eyes. After breakfast we returned to my room so that he could pack. He was leaving after lunch so that he had enough time to prepare for tomorrow. I knew I had preparation to do too, as it was my first day of college, and the nerves had started to kick in. Even though Sarah was going to be there, we were studying different courses. Also, I had to face my mum and hope that I wouldn't get grounded. I put my stereo system on and selected Hunting High and Low by a-ha. James pulled me into his arms, and as the delicate strains of the title track poured over us, I melted once more. Our kisses were gentle, loving, and ultimately meant to see us through our next stretch apart. Every touch of our fingers created an indentation, a shadow in our memories of how our bodies fitted together. I stared into James's blue eyes, like sinking into a beautiful calm pool where I drowned. His hands in my hair as his fingers tangled through it and pulled me even closer. I didn't want him to ever let me go as my pulse raced. With my head on his chest, I listened to his heartbeat, which drummed in time with mine. He was my guide, and every twist and turn I longed to share with him. Every hope, fear and dream I had was linked to our future. I watched him leave, and I stood there for some time, waiting for the pain to pass, but it didn't, even when my tears stopped falling. I walked into the house feeling numb and saw that Mum was waiting for me. I sat down at the kitchen table, and after I wiped away the last solitary tear, I looked at her. "It's not what you think," I said, believing attack was the best form of defence in this matter. "I was up there and we just fell asleep, and before I knew it was morning." "Do you think I was born yesterday?" my mother spluttered. "No, but it's the truth," I replied, hoping my lie was convincing enough for her to drop it. "I just need to know one thing. You being safe," she said, her anger dissipated as she sat down opposite me. I felt the blush creeping up my cheeks as I thought of all that I'd done with James, especially with the image of the garage. "Yes, Mum," I replied. "We are. We're in love." "I know all about that," Mum replied. "Just try and protect yourself, as it may not last with James living so far away." I desperately wanted to defend my feelings to her, but I decided against it. So I just nodded and started to stand up. "I don't want you spending the night in your room with James. My house, my rules," Mum finished. Relieved that I'd got off so lightly, I walked up to my room, where I lay down on my bed and breathed in the scent that still lingered there from James. So, hope you're really enjoying this. If you are, please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to read on ahead, you can download the book for free from my website, which is www.audrinalane.co.uk, or you can buy it from Amazon, as it's now a paperback. Anyway, I shall see you again this time next week. Bye for now.